Hello everyone, it's me, Father Leo with platinggrace.com, and I want to make a few comments regarding the Holy Father's interview about the LGBT community and how some people in both Catholic and secular media interpreted his words as approving civil unions for gay couples. So the first set of comments are regarding what the Holy Father said in this interview, which was not a papal decree. He wasn't speaking ex cathedra. He didn't call an ecumenical council. He wasn't even writing an apostolic exhortation or an encyclical. You see, there are very levels of ways that the Holy Father communicates. He wasn't communicating on any of those levels. He was giving an interview about civil convivence to gay couples. And that's what he said. He did not use the term civil unions, a gay marriage. He didn't use any of those expressions whatsoever. He said convivencia civil, which basically means in Spanish civil convivence, and that basically means let's not make it hard for gay people to have rights. You see, the Holy Father is speaking as a universal shepherd, not just to Catholics. And if he was, he wouldn't have the ability to change church law, even if he wanted to. But what he has always demonstrated, even as the Cardinal Archbishop in Buenos Aires, he was always reaching out to people who never felt like they had a home in the Catholic Church, because that's his job. And he wasn't speaking to the church about gay marriages. He was actually speaking to civil authorities, the secular world, because he has a responsibility to preach there too. And he's basically telling civil authorities, be kinder to people who have a different sexual orientation other than heterosexual. He's basically trying to remind not just the United States of America, which is incredibly compassionate to people of different persuasions. He's talking to the entire world, because there are some sectors of the world that are incredibly rude, mean, and in fact harm the dignity of the LGBT community. And so he was addressing them. So again, the Holy Father is not changing church law. He can't, and he doesn't want to. If he did, he would have said so. But he never said that, and you can see how the misinterpretation just grew in wildfire. Now, many of you might be thinking, but Father Leo, you're a little late to the game. I mean, he said that, mid-October? Now it's the end. It's a couple weeks away and you're now making comments? Yes, I am late to the game. And not because I'm Filipino. I intentionally waited to see just how long this quote-unquote bombshell was going to make its way through people's hearts and minds and the media cycle. And you know what? It took about 48 hours for this whole dramatic thing to just fizzle away, because common sense prevailed. So the next group of comments are really addressed to Catholics. Whether you cheered or jeered the Holy Father, I think we all need to take a step back and be slower to react and more reflective in our response. We've got to get rid of the drama. And there is a lot of it in the church. We have to get rid of this presumption that this Holy Father is destroying the church from within, because he's not. I've met people firsthand who have come back to the church because of this Holy Father's approach. Granted, he's not a systematician like Benedict. He is not a dogmatician and a poet and charismatic like, for example, St. John Paul II. But he is his own man, and we have to trust that the Holy Spirit knew what the Holy Spirit was doing when the Holy Spirit inspired the cardinals to elect Bergoglio to be Pope Francis I. We've got to get rid of this sense of divisiveness in a quick reaction, because it's not helping anyone. I know that there are a lot of people who want to complain and say, well, even though he didn't say that, he should have known better as a church statesman and watched his words better. Well, that might be true. But guess what? I think a lot of the reasons why people are attracted to this particular Holy Father is because he's not speaking only as a statesman, as a diplomat, or as an ecclesiastical figure head. He's speaking as a shepherd. And I know Jesus was even accused of distorting the law because he could speak the common tongue in a common way. And some people might argue, well, even if he didn't mean to say this, didn't he know that this was going to start a firestorm? I don't know, but maybe that's his genius. Maybe he is being used by the Holy Spirit to bring out controversial topics, but in a more conversational way. And you know what that does? It leads the church, the people who actually are paying attention, to be more responsible in how they communicate on behalf of the Pope. You see, for those who cheered the Holy Father and said, yeah, he's all for gay marriage, please stop being a cafeteria Catholic. Figure out, first of all, if you even are schooled enough in understanding what the Holy Father said. Please don't presume that the Holy Father wants to promote immorality because he doesn't. If you want to cite Laudato Si as somehow the Holy Father is all for the Green New Deal according to United States politics, stop. He never said any of that. You're misinterpreting, and more importantly, probably not even reading the whole encyclical. And you might like that encyclical, but if you truly are trying to be a good Catholic, then you can't cherry pick and again be a cafeteria Catholic and say, this Holy Father is for this, and therefore we like him better, because that doesn't make you a good Catholic. You have to like all of the popes and all of their encyclicals. So please don't presume that this Holy Father is trying to change church law to fit your narrative. And for those who jeered the Holy Father and wanted to criticize him because of his words and not being as clear dogmatically as he should be, remember that he's speaking as a pastor. And while pastoral service never undermines the Catholic spirituality or the intellectual formation or the human formative side to his papacy, he is trying to teach us how to be pastors. And it begins with convivience, making sure that we aren't making it hard for people to get to know Jesus, making sure that we're not becoming an immediate wall, but rather a bridge, which is exactly what his role is as the pontiff. It's a Latin word that means bridge builder. But finally, there's a third group of people who I think just need to pay attention, and those are people in the Catholic sphere who are working in media or have large audiences and therefore become influencers. I get it. You love the church and you want to defend it from all of the jeers and the attacks and the insults and want to preserve its teachings in integrity and in purity. But you know what? We all need to have a little bit more trust in what Jesus said in Luke's Gospel, chapter 22. He said that he's praying for you, Peter, so that your faith will be strengthened, and then you in turn can strengthen the faith of others. In other words, Jesus has got this. He's taking care of the church. He always has and he always will. And it requires us to be better collaborators and cooperators with the Holy Spirit, which we believe is working through this pontificate of Pope Francis. And so it requires us to be a little bit more careful in how we present the teachings of the Catholic Church. And maybe we need to learn how to be a little bit more pastoral in our approach. You see, not everyone understands all of the intricate details of canon law, sacramental theology, moral theology, liturgy even. And so it's up to us to make sure that we are providing them truly good news. I get it. The media, even in the Catholic world, have deadlines. But you have to be more careful. And for us who have Catholic influence, we have to be more reflective and not so incendiary. We shouldn't think that everyone is going to believe the 140 characters describes everything that the Holy Father says. So let's be a little bit more careful and work towards unity. And I'm not saying covering anything up. No, not at all. But let's just make sure that we aren't trying to create mountains out of molehills. You see, I waited a couple weeks in order to share my reflection because I was getting a lot of phone calls and emails, and I said, let's just give it a little bit of time. You know, this Holy Father has always tried to have an outreach to people who have felt marginalized, either because they are sinful and living sinful lives and they don't feel comfortable in the church, or perhaps because the church hasn't made sinners feel comfortable in this hospital of grace. And so what we've got to do is maybe work together to make our church what Christ has asked for it to be. One, as brothers and sisters in faith. And hopefully this Holy Father, because we're praying for him and not constantly criticizing, but even trying to understand, and perhaps if we're humble enough, we can even learn from him. Maybe we can all be not just a holy, but even a happy Catholic family. I hope that these words made sense. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and stay hungry for God.